So we're on the head removal. We've got our Whitworths, yeah, Whitworth sockets, yeah, and I've got some long Whitworth sockets somewhere. Some long Whitworth sockets, these may come in handy. And I've got a special Whitworth socket. So I've got my Whitworth spanner, I've got my Whitworth socket short and long, and I've got one special thin 1/4 inch width thin, because that's my I don't know if you can see how well you can see this, that's just 1/4 width and that's a 1/4 width, but this one, I don't know if you can see that, but how much thinner this one is than that. We'll be using this one for getting down inside the head, because this one will be too thick, it won't actually go down to get to the nut. Right, I'll then refer to my manual, workshop manual, to remind me which ones to do first. So I'm doing 10 first, which is one of the two front ones. So let's have a look. Yeah, so immediately I'm using this thin socket because it's down inside the head. This socket is just too thick, just won't go down, simple as that. So again, this is actually, I bought this I think from Andover Norton socket. It's a special thin one which fits down and goes down inside the head. But I know, I'm looking down, it's quite common that there is debris down inside here that stops you actually getting onto the nut. I think there's a twig or something down one of these. Not sure what it is, or a bit of wire, I don't know. I'll try and oik it out and have a look. So I remember when I did mine, because I did mine in situ. I don't know what that is, I can't get it out. Come on, it's got. I'm trying to get it out through the fins, but oh, there it comes. I wonder what it is. I think it is a twig. Yeah, it's a twig. A twig that's gone down in those holes in the head. Now, when I originally did my head on my bike, I took the head off in situ. The problem with that is that there's a massive frame bar just there, so you can't look down into those holes. And what had happened on mine is a stone had gone down, this very small little bit of grit, small stone, and wedged itself between the nut and the cylinder wall. So that when I put my socket down, of course, it couldn't go over the nut because the stone was in the way. But I couldn't see what was going on because the frame was in the way. In the end, I had to use all mirrors and things, and I eventually worked out what it was and managed to oik the stone out and get the socket onto it. But it's little things like that that can fool you. You know, simple thing, just like a bit of stone or something going down inside. You can't get the socket on. Okay, yeah. So what we're doing this one first. There that goes. So just loosen them all as you would when you're tightening the head up. Don't fully undo things. Just give them that half turn. So that's where we're going. 8. Is that one of the? Is that one of the ones underneath? No, get it right. Yeah, that's one of the ones underneath. 6 and 4. Yeah. So we've got these. There's 3 here at the top. And then you've got 2 underneath that go up through the cylinder barrel into the head from underneath. Then you've got 2 on this side, 2 on this side, and 1 at the barrel at the back. Okay, so now I'm going to loosen the 2. There's 2 strange long ones that go up through the barrel at the front here underneath the exhaust ports. So let's see if I can get a spanner on them. Damn, these have gone. Yeah, right. So I'm getting ready to undo those 2 front bolts. Just check that we are still in camera. Yeah, I think we are. Here's one thing that I've got. It's a quarter width. Okay, but I've got two spanners. Now the one on the left, I think I'm in shot there. The ring is too thick. It won't go over the nut. So you need a ring spanner with a thin sort of edge. Otherwise, you know, this spanner is no good at all for getting onto that nut because it can't get over it. So a nice thin ring spanner. There we go. Make sure we are actually undoing it because we're upside down. Always wise to check that out. I did do that once. I was doing a nut from underneath, and I couldn't work out why it wasn't loosening, and because I was trying to do it up rather than undo it. When you get as old as I am, it's easy to confuse the brain. So if you're doing something from underneath, make sure you're turning it the right way. And then the next one is this other one at the front. Again, I'm having a second thought on this. Yeah. There we go. Again, just loosen them slightly. Then where we go? We're going to the sides, to the bolts on the top. I'm not using my power one for this because I want to do things carefully. Oh, I've got a quarter width on there, haven't I? Yeah. Let's have a look. Again, so I'm not sure if I can do that. Yeah. Yeah, again, these nuts are quite near the casting, so I'm using a thin socket. Okay, then we've got the one at the back, which again you need a thin spanner for. Yeah, so it is quarter. There we go. So again, thin ring spanner to go on this one, and the nut is like halfway up the barrel at the back. Again, double check I'm undoing, not trying to tighten. Let's come. There we go. And last of all is the one that's right down, almost inside the head. Come on, what's going on? I'm sure that's a quarter width, but it's not. Right, I'm a bit stumped for that number one because I thought it was quarter width, but it's not. It must be quarter width. What are you going on there? I'm sure you're quarter width. There's not a stone or anything blocking it. It should be. Okay, so here's one of those anomalies. Don't ask me why, but I'm sure that nut down there is a quarter width. The number one in the middle of the head. But the quarter width socket is simply not going on. Simply not going on. I don't know why. So I found a 14mm socket, thin one, that does fit. So we're going to use that. When it comes out, when it comes out, we'll have a look and work out why we're on 14mm and not on anything else. Right, so now I'm going to go around and I'm going to loosen things off fully. Okay, and now we're going to take the nuts off completely. yeah, and one thing I forgot to mention before is you also need to use that special thin socket to get to this cylinder head stud there, particularly this one on the right hand side to the rear, because again the casting for the cylinder head is very close to the nut. So the others it's okay, but this particular one the casting is so close there that again you need that thin socket to be able to get to it. Right, so we've got all the studs off, and so we're now ready to lift the head off. I always say at this point it's worth, whichever head you're taking off, it's worth counting on the bench that you've got the right number of cylinder head studs on the bench, which means you haven't accidentally forgotten one that's hidden around the back or something, and then you're trying forever to get the head off, can't work out why it won't come off. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 here, and then I've got the one at the back which is kind of stuck in the barrel because the nuts come, the stud has come out with the nut, and so it's still just sitting there loose. So I know that I've got all 10 are undone. I've got 9 here. I've got 1 loose in the back. Always worth doing that. A number of people I know, that have been there messing about trying to get, and they've left a stud in, which could be one reason why this cylinder head, cylinder barrel fin is broken, because someone's been trying to lever it, because this should now be loose, the head, yeah. Okay, because there's no, there's no sleeves or anything. It's the doorbell. There's no sleeves or anything to, as soon as you undo everything, the head should be loose. Okay, hopefully I'll try not to get in the way of the camera. I'll try and do this left-handed, which probably therefore won't work. I should be on the other side of the bench really where the camera is. So, okay, we're going to try and lift it off, and I know that there's like a trick to this. It's basically the push rods are in the way to stop it lifting straight off, as I remember. I can't remember. So I think the trick is to tilt it backwards, then push the push rods up out of the way, then the head will come off. That's what I think. We'll see. So I'm going to lift this, and it just comes absolutely straight off. There you go. Yep, so we've still got those 2 studs in the head. Just having a very quick look at, that stud's still in. Well, I'll have to take that out separately. I'm just having a very quick look. I'll show you in a minute. But obviously, yeah, as I thought, the right hand side has definitely been smoking. There's obvious signs of oil burning, but the valves look okay. There's no horror stories. The pistons look okay. The barrels are, of course, rusted near the top. I'll show you this in a minute. I'm just having a cursory inspection. Okay, that's all I'm doing. I'm not going to give it a full once over. I'm just seeing, and I don't know if you can see. I'll show you this later on again. But there's a broken fin on that corner, which is annoying. But no horror stories. It's all just a bit tired, but no horror stories apart from that broken fin. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to label the push rods so that I know which one goes where, because ideally the push rods should go back in the same place, because of the way that they're worn and that. If you start moving around, they can wear rapidly. So I'll be putting a mark on the push rods before I pull them out, and then I won't be taking the head fully apart now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to dismantle the engine, and then we'll come back to the head and we'll start taking the valves out and so on when we look at the head. I'm just by the by, I'm just thinking, what I was saying about tilting the head back and pushing the push rods up. I've got an idea that's if the head is still in the frame, because there's not enough clearance for the head to come straight off over the push rods. Okay, but obviously out of the frame we can lift it straight up, and I think that's why it's a bit of a struggle normally, because the the engine's still in the frame with the frame in the way. But okay, that's when it's tricky, but now we can just lift it straight off. Okay, yeah, so this is just like initial inspection. But it looks, it's difficult to get the light in here, but you can see it's quite sticky black residue, certainly on this side, that suggests smoking. A bit black on this side as well. There's oil, but that's just come in, so it might have been a slight leak from the head gasket, I'm not sure. You see on the head gasket there's slight signs of maybe it, leaking, burning across there in the middle. Pistons look sort of okay. Again, signs, it's quite black and that, so there's been some oil burning, certainly on the right and also on the left. And then of course the bores, they've obviously been out so long they're rusted. No surprise there at all at the top. Of course, especially on this side, because I think the owner did, as we say, stuff rags down the ports. But of course it depends which valves were open. Not sure which valves were open, and it might have been this exhaust valve that was open. And of course there wasn't any rag stuff there because that still had the like exhaust pipe on it, so I don't know. But there's, whatever the case, we need at least a hone, if not a rebore. Yeah, and that's the cylinder head gasket. But there's nothing really no major wrong there. But I'm not going to strip it down now. I'll carry on stripping the whole engine down, and then we'll come back and do parts individually. Oh yeah, there's this damned broken ring fin, which I don't know. I think it was either someone trying to take the head off or trying to tighten or loosen that damned exhaust port. I don't know how that's happened, but to be honest, I'm not that up on it. It's a cast iron head barrel, and I know that it's difficult, obviously, welding cast iron, and also I'm fairly sure we won't have that missing fin, because if it was anywhere, I'm sure the owner would have given it to me. It's difficult to tell how old the brake is looking at it, but that could be a pain. I'll have to check on that, because I know it's not that straightforward mending fins on cast iron, but we'll see what can be done. Right, anyway, that's it for the head now. I'm going to now go on and remove the barrels and then the pistons. Right, yeah, and just on that central this central stud, this number one stud on the cylinder head, if you remember, I couldn't get I thought it was quarter width, but that definitely won't fit. The 9/16 UNF, that fits. It's a bit loose. A tight fit is a 14mm. So I don't really know. I'm assuming it's actually a 9/16 UNF, which I don't have a small socket for. So it's just as well that the 14 fitted, because I happen to have a small enough socket to go on. But I'm sure someone might write in and elucidate me as to what it is. I assume it's 9/16 UNF. It's not UNC. Well, of course, that's bolting into cast iron, so it only needs a fine thread. If it was bolting into alloy, it would have a coarse thread. So I think it's 9/16 UNF. But I know it's a bit of a mystery at the moment, but that's what it is.